All right. Appreciate everyone joining me today. So today we'll discuss volunteer software, specifically volunteer impact, and if it's the right software for your organization. And for those who just joined, just another reminder, this meeting's being recorded. You'll receive an email afterwards with a link to watch this recording. And looks like just about everybody's muted themselves already. Thank you so much. We'll reserve 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. Now, since it seems like we're all here, want everyone to find the chat and say where you're from. And yeah, we'll see how many people are across the country today. So yeah, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat now. It'll be my turn. I'll introduce myself afterwards. Let's see, who do we have? And also, okay. Oh, nice. So here we go. Montana, nearby where I'm at, and then we're the northern people are showing up. We're in Kansas City. My hometown's being represented. This is great. Here we go. Here we go. And now for so you know, Better Impact's now officially partnered with Dovia, Colorado. Now it's your turn. So for those folks joining from Dovia, say hello to everyone in the chat. Yeah, I'm looking around. We're having people all over the country. So this is wonderful. Texas, East Coast, New Jersey, or then even where I'm located now, Seattle area. That's great. All right. And so you know, back to for those for Dovia, Colorado's professional organization supporting volunteer management. They offer trainings and networking events, particularly annual conference that's coming up, CCOV. Colorado Conference of Volunteerism. It's on September 7th, day to day. The conference is dedicated to helping volunteer managers be more effective in their roles and helping emerge in their professional development. And if you want to take the next step in advancing your career, be sure to visit Dovia, Colorado, if you're interested to learn more or join as a member. And now, all right, let's go ahead and continue on to who I am. So my name is Micah Pierce-Roberts. I'm a software sales advisor. I meet with all different kinds of organizations, ranging from small nonprofits to enterprise scaled structures across the western half of the United States. So those are states west of the Mississippi River. And like I briefly mentioned, I'm from the Kansas City area, grew up on the Kansas side, went to the university on the Missouri side, but now I'm in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, where I live with my wife, and we love to go on hikes on the weekend. And then, yeah, just another helpful reminder. Looks like some people are having a hard time hearing, just making sure you can hear me okay and making sure everybody's muted. I'll do one more mute check just to make sure we have everybody. All right, there we go. Thank you. And now on to today's webinar. So here are just some of the takeaways that we'll be discussing. We'll first start just talking about some of the common problems we may all be facing. We all come from a bunch of different sectors, but we may be experiencing some of the same issues, which we'll discuss, and also do a quick little Zoom poll on just a quick program assessment. And then going into results on a survey just on why this topic is relevant, why the right tools matter. And then we'll get into the meat of today's webinar, which is a high-level overview of our volunteer management software, Volunteer Impact. We'll go over like all the main highlights within the software. Be sure to stick around towards the end, because there will be some helpful resources along with that recording. One of those resources is going to be a more comprehensive online demonstration of Volunteer Impact if you wanted to go in and learn more about the platform. And then also to obtain a PDU, Professional Development Unit, sometimes known as a CEC, Continued Education Credit. I'll be sharing that in the chat, and just be sure to open that up while this webinar is open so you can receive those credits. And now the problems. So many problems that a lot of volunteer organizations are facing is a lot of data entry. I hear for those who meet with me that they're spending a lot of time like on that initial process, like capturing their information, the application process, to tracking their contributions, such as hours, or maybe they're doing this in a lot of different variety of ways, such as multiple tools, going out somewhere else, sending out emails to volunteers can be challenging and time consuming. It's just not enough time to lead and engage volunteers for your program, and it just ends up wasting a lot of time. And the solutions might be hard to achieve because it requires money to purchase a solution that can help centralize all of that. So another part of that challenge is gaining that approval from leadership to spend the money to finding the solution you need to help run your programs more efficiently. And on top of that, in today's world, security is becoming more of an issue. So making sure that a database that is used that's storing the data secure, since in some sectors we could be working at we might be storing some sensitive information. And what we hope is that volunteer impact is the solution. So we're a top-rated volunteer software system that's been around for over 20 years now. So that's what we hope by the end of this webinar. So now let's get into the questions. I'm going to open a Zoom poll, and the first question is going to be, out of that last slide, which problem resonated with you the most? Is it like too much data entry, using too many tools, not enough time? There should have been a poll that popped up. So just let me know if people have seen it on here. Okay, there we go. That's a confirmation right there. So yeah, as we see, it'll have all the questions out there on that poll, and I'll just go through them on each slide right here. As the next question is, like, how are you managing your volunteers currently? They're using a spreadsheet, using another system, or maybe you're using something that's not a VMS or a spreadsheet like a CRM or Access. And feel free, if you want to share what that other thing is that you're using that's not a spreadsheet or VMS, feel free to share in the chat.
Where is my chat? Oh, chat.
And then the last question is just, in your opinion, what's at risk if a change doesn't occur sooner rather than later? Turnover, disengagement on the volunteer staff side, maybe wasted money, maybe program reputation on the line, or something else. Close this poll here in a second. And thank you all for participating. I see like almost 80% are participating in this. So yeah, this is going to be very helpful. And once we hit 2 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and close this. 3, 2, 1, and poll over. Okay, so I'm going to share the results here. So from the first question, 59% of those who responded are managing data in multiple and different systems. And then the second highest reason is not enough time to lead and engage with volunteers. So, and then that's probably why that almost half answered spreadsheets, using a whole bunch of different tools. So you're just trying to find something else in terms of to manage everything. So you're not taking so much time out of your day, because it's leading to a lot of turnover, disengagement, which is a concern that most people shared on those results. So I appreciate everybody participating in that quick poll with me. And now we will go ahead and move on to another survey that I found particularly interesting. Is that those so G2 had a survey that they sent out a few years ago. They surveyed over 2,000 people, asking a series of questions on job satisfaction. And one of the questions that they asked was that they found results on was that more than half of employees are unhappy at work because of the tools that they're using. And yeah, it just shows that being provided the right tools to perform the job plays into our level of job satisfaction. And when those right tools are not in place, our level of efficiency and effectiveness decrease. And it's one factor that can contribute to unhappiness in our role. And unhappiness in our role that can lead us to quitting our job, as it was found in that same survey. Around 1 in 8 employees quit a job due to mismatched software. And it's just a cited, the fact is it's a cited reason for people leaving a job speaks to how important it is to make sure the employees have the right tools for the job. So we want to have less of what's on the left and more of what's on the right. So let's get you and your team working with the tools that make you feel less frustrated and rather more empowered and productive when you do your job. And with that, now it is time to explore how volunteer impact can help you achieve just that. So let's go ahead and switch gears to volunteer impact. So now what we should be seeing is the admin side of volunteer impact. I believe I'm sharing the right screen here. And what this is right here is showing is an overview of our program. And keep in mind, you can have as many admin logins as you'd like. So anyone on your team can have their own access, and they can have customized access as well. They don't have to see absolutely everything. And it's all web-based. I will also briefly mention for those working in organizations that have different departments, when you log in, they can be set in a way where you see your own department as well. But where I want to bring our attention to is the status update right here, as this provides an overall summary of your program and where the volunteers are in the process, starting with applicant. So these are volunteers who have recently applied on your application form that you can fully customize to your needs, inquiring, capturing any kind of data that you need to capture on the front end, such as why they want to volunteer with you, any important documents such as certifications, driver's license, maybe you want to hear how they heard about volunteering with you and you want to capture that information. You can ask as many different questions as you like, and the whole experience is branded. You can even set with that like a public landing page that can look something like this, should you choose to use it, where again, you can have your own banner, a summary of your program, as you can lay out what you want to share, what your first impression you want to have for those wanting to volunteer on your website. Since with this, because the benefit of this form right here is it doesn't take any web developers or IT to create. You simply tick which box you want to appear on here, and you add the description on here, so that way they can see all of your different services that you have on here. And once this is all ready, you simply drop the link and hyperlink it on your website, so that way when they want to click to view volunteer opportunities, they can see an overview of your public page of your offerings, so that way they're more educated before they commit to that application process. You can even see like socials, Facebook, Twitter, things like that. And let's say we're particularly drawn by guest services. We can click here to learn more to get a better description. And then we can move on to that application, which then it would go to your specific series of questions that you create. But the first step that the volunteer would do would be creating a My Impact page account, which is the volunteers portal. Their own personal portal account where they just answer their basic contact information. So that way you don't have to create that part as part of the application. It's all captured through their My Impact page account, their volunteers portal, which there's also an app for that with Apple and Android. So they don't have to just sign on a browser to log into their portal. They can download the app on Apple or Android. And before they get to your series of questions, you can lay out any policies that they have to agree to up front, where you can lay out what exactly those policies are, so that way they can check the box and say that they've agreed to your said policies, which you can customize that wording on here. And that's what will lead them to the series of questions that you'll have for your application, which you set whatever you need to capture on that end. So then once the volunteer submits the application, automated communication happens both ways. One, to the volunteer, informing them right away what their next steps are. So if that's completing like a background check, completing a training, scheduling an interview, you're able to determine what needs to be communicated to them right away as soon as they submit that application, so they're not being left hanging at all. And then communication also happens on your end, as you can be chosen to receive an automated email for once a new applicant comes in. So that's going to prompt you to sign in to your account, and then see in your dashboard that you have a new applicant to acknowledge on here, and it'll have all of their questions answered on there. And then you would find their profile and mark which steps that they need to complete in order for them to become an accepted. As their next step is, you would move them to this in process stage, which is like an onboarding stage. And each organization is going to determine like what steps it specifically takes to move from the applicant to in process and then to accepted. Typically, when a volunteer is in this accepted status, it means they've made all the minimum requirements in order to volunteer. And now they have the ability to self-schedule potentially for volunteer opportunities that they have the requirements for. Since there's a particular field in the software called a qualification. It matches volunteers with volunteer opportunities, and it can be set in a way to where the system can recognize that a volunteer is a match. So that way it can be set to where someone can self-schedule based on the requirements that they have. So that way it saves everybody's time. And so when a volunteer's taking the time to self-schedule, they're only seeing relative roles that they have those specific requirements for. And each set of volunteer opportunities, you set what exactly those requirements are: a background check, training. And then the last two bubbles to discuss here are inactive and archived. So inactive are volunteers that are actually still active. They're just not active right now. They're on a short-term leave or a long-term leave. Maybe they're on vacation or they're on medical leave. And then archived are those who are not planning to return. Maybe they moved away, or maybe they're a one-time volunteer for an event. You can hold as many of these archived profiles as you'd like, and should someone return, you can always unarchive them and restore their basic profile information. And so below these statuses, these are our alerts right here. And these are just some particular items being brought to your attention because there needs to be something done on our end. Like, for example, all custom field approvals. These can be particular questions on an application form that you want to closely track and verify it's the right information. So like, let's say you wanted to track who's uploading like a driver's license document on the application form. So once a volunteer submits an application, they upload that driver's license, and we chose to particularly track it, then there's going to be an alert on here letting us know we need to review something on here. So this 6 means we have 6 particular items that we're reviewing. And we click to see what that is. And it lets us know for which volunteer, for which custom field, which can be an application question, like driver's license. And then this is where we would review that document and verify that it's their actual driver's license. And once it looks good, we check that it's approved, and it'll clear them off the list there. So now we can work on verifying the next step, which can be like for reference checks or any other items. And I'm not going to click through all of these different alerts on here, but something I want to make everyone aware is the format's the exact same. So like, let's say I wanted to see which volunteers had a qualification that's expiring. When I click this alert, it's going to show and tell me who are all my volunteers that have something that is timely and expiring, like a background check. This is one of our most used alerts on here to keep up to date, to make sure everybody has their background checks rather than looking at a spreadsheet or for trainings. And you're able to set like how much notice you want in advance when this is expiring, like 30 days, 45 days. So that way you can have ample notice to send an email to the volunteers who need to complete another background check, training, or so on. And then the last thing to mention on the status updates for engagement are reminders for upcoming birthdays and anniversaries. So kind of like with the expiring qualifications, you can set how much notice you want in advance, so then you can plan ahead and wish your volunteers a happy birthday or a happy anniversary via email or text. And then finishing off what we see on the main page. So something to keep in mind too is some of these like bubbles on here, like status update, system message, feed. You can choose if you want these to appear on your main page. So there's some customizability on what you want to see when you log in. Like you can optionally see any updates upcoming, quick access to leaving feedback on how we can improve your account information, but you can toggle where you want to or if you want to see those. The other parts of customizations are going to be pin searches, favorites. And this is a really popular feature on here because the power of this tool is this will allow you to communicate with any specific set of volunteers within seconds. What you'll first do is you'll create a specific search and filter it to a specific group, which you can then save. So now you're a click away from communicating with said group. An example I have on here is like, because it's commonly used a lot of the times for like onboarding processes to remind volunteers that they need to complete a certain step, like this example right here. Applicants who have not completed a background check. With any specific search I have on here, I can see if there's any results that land on here. So if it's worth my time diving into. And as I see, there's 2 right here. So that means there are 2 applicants that we have that still need to complete the background check steps. So let's go ahead and quickly remind them by sending an email, where you can use an email template for this situation is you have an unlimited email template library. So we'll just remind Jamie and Sarah over here that we still thank you for applying with us. We still need your background check. So then it'll be personalized to Jamie and Sarah. They won't know that you're communicating with other people, and it's going to come from your email that you're using with your Better Impact admin login, and all responses will fall in everybody's natural email inbox. And I will go through one example on how that pin search was created. Before I get to that step, the last thing I want to share on the main page here is these favorites over here. Any page that you land on in the software, you can save it as a favorite. So to help with ease of navigation of the system. So that way, there's certain areas that you're going to go more often. You can just save it so you're a click away from it. And these are determined by these like icons up here. So these are the different sections where you would go into the software to like create content, like for your application form that's found in this configuration section. So for like building volunteer opportunities, creating e-learning content for training modules. And then you can just kind of use these images to visualize, okay, where do I need to go? Maybe I need to run a report. Line graph right here. This is where we would find reports. Or relating to the pin search. So we want to set up an email. We want to set up a pin search. So by looking at these, we can get an idea of where we would start. Communicate, megaphone. So now we click the megaphone here, and it's going to show all of the options relating to this section. So email, we want to send email. And now I'm at the page for sending an email for a volunteer, which remember, you can save it as a favorite. So you don't have to go and find it. I believe I have one. I'm right here. So I could have just clicked that. And something to keep in mind as I'm going through on this example of building the pin search is that our search and filtering in the software is uniform throughout the platform. So whether you're making a report, an email group, or a simple list of volunteers, the process is going to be the same. You're first going to be prompted asking what type of volunteer are we looking at? Like what stage are they in? What's their status? Are they active? So this is what we would do if we want to simply create an email group for all of our active volunteers. We would check accepted, and then we would save it and pin it to our dashboard. So now we're a click away from communicating with all volunteers. For the pin search for applicants without a background check, it was created by checking applicant. And then now we add our search criteria here, where it will lay out all of the different profile related fields to filter by, and it can be based on customizations such as questions on your application form, or documents they haven't uploaded. So this same process can be used to remind volunteers to upload documents they haven't uploaded. Or even it could be related based to scheduling. Maybe we need to communicate and let volunteers know that we need to cancel all shifts today for some reason. So we can make a dynamic date search for all volunteers who are on the schedule today for all opportunities or specific ones. For the background check, that's a qualification that was on here since it's a requirement. It's a non-negotiable. So we would select the qualification, which all of these we created ourselves for a reason, since these are requirements in some way or another to volunteer at a particular role. So background check is what we would select. It's empty, it hasn't been updated. We can ignore expiry since they're not a volunteer yet. And then you can add more filters and you can stack as many as you like, but we're just gonna keep this example simple here. So now we're gonna find Sarah and Jamie again. So we save this as a pin search. So now we're a click away with communicating with the said group. Each staff member is going to have their own specific pin searches to quickly reference a group of volunteers, along with favorites as well. So it just makes it as easy as possible getting to where you need to in the system, and then actioning out, emailing, communicating, engaging with the people working with you within your program. And I know it's a bit of an information overload, kind of looking into the new system, but something that I want to make you aware is that we have a support team that you can reach out to, and we're 24/5. We're located around the globe conveniently, so we'll be able to answer any questions via this chat box down here. So you can ask a question and we'll get back to you typically within 5 minutes. And then there's the ability on here to self-learn as well, since we have over 200 videos on betterimpact.tv, along with helpful articles to help teach you how to build each part of the software in written format or video format. And this is also where this search bar right here is also where we can click a person and we can find a specific profile. So if we're looking for somebody, we'll search for them by name. We're looking for our top volunteer here, Veronica. So we can even see like a little preview of her picture and do some quick actions if needed. But let's just go ahead and jump and see who Veronica is. And as we find who she is, we'll see an overall summary of her contact information, her contributions, like her total number of hours, where it's broken down, and even her achievements as well, since there's ways you can make virtual badges to track achievements for them. And when Veronica signs in, she'll be able to see all of her badges she's collected once we switch over to the volunteers portal. But before we get there, just wanted to address what we can see on the back end. And a lot of parts on here, the volunteer can like update themselves, like contact. That's pretty straightforward. When we go in here, we can update Veronica's contact information if needed. But she also has the ability to do that herself within her own personal portal. Custom fields. So custom fields are commonly questions to your application. So when reviewing a volunteer applicant, here's where we can review their responses. And it can also be other information too, like information we're capturing later on after the application, where they can update it through their own personal portal, such as uploading a new driver's license once that's expired. Or it can be private fields just hidden for administrator only for back-end purposes. In the qualification section, so again, these are our requirements. So these particular fields, you're able to tie them onto volunteer activities, opportunities. So that way, if something requires a background check, driving, and a training, Veronica's qualified for these types of roles and can self-schedule based on them should she have these requirements. This is the section simply is where we would update, such as we received her background check, it's passed, let's mark it as passed, and set when it expires so we can be alerted beforehand. And in terms of trainings, these are the one type of qualification where they can update themselves by the volunteer, because we can link these particular trainings to one of our e-learning lessons. So once we jump into the volunteers portal, I'll show like an example of how they can be quizzed on a particular training. It's commonly used for like orientations or for specialized trainings. Like one I can think of on the top of my head is like dog walking trainings for those working at for volunteers at like animal shelters. But you can make as many different kinds of trains as you like on there. And then finishing out, so there's other information that can also be captured on the application or updated over time through their app, like what area of service they're interested in. You're able to customize different areas of interest for them to express in, and they can even see pictures of these like in the application as well, so they can learn more about what each of those are, along with kind of a general availability when they're available. So then when you look into scheduling and you're trying to find more help on the weekend, you can run reports on who's available on Saturday, Sunday, and so on. And then the moving on, so this communication section, straightforward. So this is where we would send emails to Veronica only, see a history. But the thing that I particularly wanted to share on here are private notes, because there might be situations where we need to record of a particular history on someone on the back end for a particular reason. And this is a safe place to store that, because Veronica is never going to see any information that you enter on her on the back end. And it's only going to be your team members that have access to this note block section that will see a history of any past notes on Veronica, which we can export the note log history. We can even run reports to see which volunteers have note logs that contain a certain keyword if we need to pull information regarding the note logs for some reason. And then assign schedule hours reports. I'm not going to go through any of these, but I want to let you know that regarding all of these different tabs here, this is something that volunteers can do themselves, from self-scheduling to seeing their upcoming shifts by signing up for automated weekly email reminders, to syncing their personal calendar. And then hours, they have the ability to record their own hours through their app or using a time clock to clock in and clock out. And then they can find their own reports for their hours as well. But as an administrator, as we're looking at Veronica here, this is where if we need to, we can take a step into their experience and schedule for them, because there could be some types of roles where we would rather assign it on the back end. Maybe we need to see their schedule for a particular reason. The hours tabs, we may need to come in here to approve hours they recorded or to fix their time entries, and then for running reports specifically on them. The last tab I'll share on here is this committees. So there's a way you can group volunteers into what's called a committee, to where now volunteers can email each other, email all other volunteers that are in the same committee within their app. So Veronica here, she's an office admin. So within her app, she's able to send emails to other volunteers who are office admins. A lot of the times this can be used if they need help for somebody else picking up a shift because something came up and now they can't make it and they need to cancel. So they'll communicate to the committees to see if they have a team member that can help take their place. And we're going to jump into the volunteers portal really quickly. But the last thing I want to share, since it's really quick to pull, is reports. So I'm going to go to our favorites here and find a report for hours on volunteers. And all we need to do is enter a date range. So what are we looking for? We can choose it ourselves here. It's customizable, or you can use a templated range like year to date, which I'll quickly reference. And now it's laying out who's all in the program, their most contributed hours here at the top, and our grand totals at the bottom, which we can readily export into multiple formats: PDF, Word, Excel. And remember, this report, we're seeing all volunteers across the program. If we wanted to customize it and make it more specific, report on a specific group. And here we are, back at the same search and filtering when making the pin search. We can filter it by their status and then any particular field. So that way we're looking for more specific group or type of volunteers to run hours on. And then we can report and push those out into Excel, PDF, other formats. There's going to be regular type of reports that you're going to run over and over again that's going to be involved with the same type of people. You can save those reports. So that way you'll have a library to refer to right here, where you use a drop down and select a previously saved search. That summarizes the admin portal. So now what does the volunteer see? So they'll be able to log in, like I said, on a personal browser or on an app through Apple or Android, and whichever device they log into, it's going to be a branded experience for them the whole way. They'll be able to see your banner, and then you can change the color schemes on here so it reflects your branding. And right away, they see their achievements, their badges that they've attained. A lot of the times, it's used for hidden number of hours, volunteering for a certain number of years, passing trainings. Those are just some common examples. Also, a quick summary of their hours, upcoming shifts that they can also add to their personal calendar, like Google iCal, Outlook calendar. So that way they can see their upcoming shifts without having to sign in, or optionally sign up for an automated email for upcoming shifts. And then they can see any news about you. Like this is commonly used for any newsletters you want to share across the program, as you can just customize and drag and drop content in here, like videos, images, links, and then along with that, your socials. So Facebook, Twitter, it can be embedded on here so they can see what you're posting on your outlets. And then down at the bottom, they can access any universal type documents that you want them to be shared. So it can be like a handbook, a how-to guide, FAQs, waivers to download, sometimes trainings. But in terms of trainings, we prefer using our training modules on here. So a volunteer can watch a video and take a quiz in a multiple choice format. They'll either take it from this training video library, or it can also be private, and so you can share it to them through a link. That's typically for more specialized trainings that you don't want every volunteer to see. And here's an example of a quiz that they can take. So it's set up with GIFs, but remember, you can use like a link to a YouTube video if you want them to watch a video. You can embed a video on here, or PowerPoint, or just use plain images and texts. And however you lay out the content, they have it right here to review and go over before they're prompted the series of questions, which you can add as many as you'd like, in which they'll answer. And then they'll be prompted whether they've passed or failed. And if they do pass, remember, so we can link qualifications with training lessons. So that way we have a qualification for training hand hygiene for this example. Once Veronica passes this training, now the step's automatically completed. And this would work with any types of trainings that require quizzing, and it can be used using a video, so like an orientation training. They can watch that, answer the questions, and once they pass, now they have that orientation step automatically completed. It provides more power to the volunteers' hands, because now they have the ability to step aside anywhere to be trained, so that they're ready to sign up and get involved more, because what they can see and sign up for is going to be based on which qualifications they do have, which could be trainings. So they'll go to their opportunities tab, where they can see it in a calendar or a list format. I'm just showing the calendar format, where they'll be able to see ways they can sign up for different kinds of roles they're qualified for. And they have the ability to filter this. So if you're super dedicated like Veronica, and you have the requirements for almost anything, they can filter it to more areas of interest if they would like, and they can even save it as a default filter if needed. But let's say we just wanted, Veronica wanted to sign up on the info booth attendant for this weekend. She'll first be prompted what's all involved with this, since you customize this description here. She can even see like who else is scheduled as well, if you wanted to turn that option on, and if the volunteer chose to not set themselves as anonymous. And then if sounds good, she'll go ahead and sign up right here, which she'll automatically be assigned should she have those requirements if you wanted to set it up that way. But keep in mind, there's flexibility. You can have it to where an admin has to approve. And within each type of role, you set what are the minimum and maximum number of volunteers. Do you want self-scheduling? And then you'll be able to like make recurring shift patterns. That's what I was thinking. You can have specific shift patterns like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 8 to 10, and you can have it fit any kind of pattern that's needed. So you can save it as a template if needed as well. And then there's also the ability to, because there might be some types of services where it doesn't follow a particular pattern. And in that case, you can turn off recurring shifts for that. So then that way, once they're signed up, they just simply record their hours either through the app on here in their hours tab, or through a time clock where they'll use their same login information to clock in and clock out of a particular shift. And right now I'm just showing login hours after the fact, what it would look like. They would put the date that they volunteered for, the time that they gave, and then they can optionally be inquired and asked other questions about how that shift went. So then you can run reports not only on the time given, but other qualitative or quantitative data, such as incidents, volunteer satisfaction, and different things like that. And once their hours are recorded and they're approved, then the volunteers themselves have the ability to find a history of their hours, like their lifetime and their hours this year is what they'll see immediately, but they can run custom reports down here, and then they can export their own information along there. And should volunteers have any help how to use the portal, they have their own help section to find step-by-steps on how to use each part of the portal. And we try to keep it as simple as possible. There'll only be a select number of tabs that they'll need to choose to like sign up and record hours. And if they need any other help and they want to communicate with you, there's a contact section for them where they can reach out to you via email through their app, or communicate with other volunteers as well. So overall, that's a highlight of a volunteer impact on the administrator and volunteers portal side. So let's go ahead and go back to PowerPoint here. And so, like I mentioned, Volunteer Impact's top-rated volunteer management software solution, and been around for over 20 years, as I briefly mentioned. It was started by a fluke, actually, by our founder, Tony. He had a passion project building a web-based management system for his residential hospice. And that's where he founded the beginnings. And over time, now we're all around the world and working with all different types of organizations. We're not only located in like North America and Canada and the United States, but also Australia and United Kingdom. So we work with customers all around the globe, and we specialize in volunteer management, particularly volunteer impact. And we're also growing and building other components as there's other modules for like tracking donors and who volunteers are working with, clients and members as well. And speaking of clients, some of you joining today may operate in programs where volunteers work directly with other individuals, your clients. Common example is like hospices, volunteers could be working with a patient, and maybe you want to track which patient the volunteer is working with and have their hours like kind of recorded with that. But it can work with all different kinds of services like horse riding centers, pet therapy, refugee services, and a whole list. And if your volunteers engage one-on-one with clients, check out our upcoming events and webinars page for our next webinar, which is exploring software for your volunteer programs, engaging one-on-one with clients. You'll be introduced to client impact and the power of utilizing both modules, volunteer and client impact for such programs. And before we get to the Q&A, just want another reminder that you'll receive emails coming your way. So just be sure to check out in the next 24 hours or so for an email of our webinar recording and other helpful resources like our comprehensive demo of volunteer impact. And then the ability to book a chat with me so we can discuss more about your particular needs one-on-one. And then what I'll also do is share this professional development unit link, PDU, in the chat. So that way you can receive credit for today's webinar here. All right, and then with that, big thanks for everyone to attending. I'll now open it to Q&A. And feel free to speak up if you don't prefer the chat. Just want to make sure we have enough time to answer your questions. And Okay, yeah. So Cindy's asking, does Volunteer Impact have the capability to link with Razor's Edge? So if we're talking single sign-on integration, the answer is no. But something that you can do is you can run a run a raw data report, and you can export profile information from our software, which you can then upload into Razor's Edge. That would be the most common approach to moving information from our software into another system. And then there's another possibility is our API at rest. So if you have a technical team or an IT team, there's a way to potentially port profile related data from our software into another system that can take in open API. So thanks for the question, Cindy. And then Katrina, so how is the image gallery on the volunteers page added? So on the on your administrator side, there's a news section where you can drag and drop images, videos, links for what you want volunteers to see on there. How time consuming is the most basic sign up for a volunteer? Or is it possible for an admin to create a volunteer profile? Thinking about the ease of transferring. Okay. So of course, when it comes for a volunteer, like signing up, you can make that application form as simplistic or as extensive as you'd like. And it could be as simple as just their basic contact information and they sign up and maybe a couple of questions. To address your other part, so it is possible for an administrator to create a volunteer profile. It's even possible to just control the whole journey if needed. Like you can make a profile without an email. You can bypass making a username or password since they're not using the app, and then you can schedule them, do their reports, all of that on there. And then in terms of ease of transferring existing volunteers, we have a data import process in place. So if you're already using another system, or if you have all of your volunteer information on a spreadsheet, we can upload those for you for a one-time fee. And it'll transfer all of their standard contact information from name, address, phone number, all of that. And then there's the ability for to add additional columns that import like past hours or emergency contact information for an additional fee. Do favorites have the same function as pinned? So they're very similar. So pinned searches are more for finding specific volunteers, like sending an email to volunteers who are on the schedule this week for a specific opportunity, reaching out to those who are interested in working with cats. Favorites are more for getting you access to a particular area in the software. Like I want to quickly access running a report for my volunteer hours. Let me save a favorite on that so I don't have to click on the icon and then find it on the menu. Do you plan to integrate with Instagram to show posts? To my knowledge, the answer is no. Is there a memory space limit capacity? Where does the data save? Do we run the software on the cloud? So there's no limits in terms of the amount of custom fields, qualifications that you can create on here. In terms of like space storage for documents, you can have essentially unlimited storage for the document library. For recording documents on specific volunteers, like if you want a volunteer to upload a record, there's a 10 megabyte limit. And then the data is hosted in Aptum in Toronto, Canada. And something that I will refer is on our website, there's a technology and privacy brief that will lay out like where like all the backups, like where the data is stored and all that information. So I'll go ahead and let you find that on our website, betterimpact.com. And then there's you'll find the technology and privacy brief at the talk. Okay. Oh, so Shane's asking volunteers at our currently use a unique pen, which they use to sign in at a tablet kiosk. Does Better Impact have a similar kiosk option? So we do offer a time clock kiosk where it can be set up exactly just like that, Shane. So there's a tablet at a station. It just has to be a device that can connect to the internet. And the way for the volunteer to sign in, there's two ways. One, they can use their same username or password. to sign in. Or they can use a QR code that will sign them in, and that's kind of like our equivalent to a PIN, since we don't have like a PIN system. But they can use they can download their own QR code, or as an administrator, you can bulk generate those for them, and that QR code is associated with their profile. So they simply use that to scan on the device, and that'll sign them in, which they'll clock in and clock out. Do we have any integration with Constant Contact? So we don't have any single sign-on integration, and this process would be similar to the question that I answered on Razor's Edge, in which you would use a raw data profile report to export the profile information to then upload or use for Constant Contact, or potentially API if that's a possibility that you would check with your IT team. How long does it take a small organization to implement the software? So yeah, that's always the golden question to ask, is how long will it take to implement it? We have an account setup estimator on our website. When you go to support.betterimpact.com, you can search account setup estimator, and it'll lay out about like how long it takes to complete services and different items. Generally speaking, 4 to 6 weeks sounds safe, but don't hold me on that number. But a great way to get started is to open a 30-day trial. That's also available on our website, and it pretty much gives you all the components within the software, so you can get started like working on the application, building the volunteer opportunities, and everything that you create within that environment will save and transfer over. Should you want to continue using the software. Can we make reports by task or objectives instead of hours, or handle a report make it by tasks or objectives instead of hours? I'm not sure I'm understanding that question. If further clarifications can be added on there, I'll continue on. Do you have similar webinar on case management using volunteer and case management in one place? So we do have a webinar for volunteers who work individually with clients, which we discuss multiple modules that we have, where you can track which volunteers are working with which particular clients, which you can store notes on the clients. Volunteers, when they log in, they can see who they're working with. So that would be something I would look into. Betterimpact.com/events is where you can find the upcoming webinar for that. All right. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? I'll go ahead and pause to see if we have any other questions here.
Micah, I do have a question.
Hey, Shane.
I know other Shane had the question about the signing in. We utilize a Kronos number on the back of our badge system. That Kronos number is also utilized for payroll deduct for eating in our cafeteria for our volunteers. Is there a way to utilize an ID number of sorts rather than a QR code at all? Or is it just the QR code or username to clock in?
It's just the QR code or username to clock in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shane. All right, how often are changes and updates made to the software? So there's a few updates every month. We try to get, well, not every month, every year. There's a few key updates. I believe our latest one was having a saved place, a unique place for like your saved reports that you can quickly refer to. And one of the things on your main page is a system message for any upcoming updates as well. So that way we can keep you alerted on like the next version release and different things like this. Okay, and yeah, and anyone, you can email me with questions specific to me. And if there's any that I missed, I'm very sorry. Like, feel free to reach back out to me. We can even book a time. Yeah, I just want to make sure that all of our questions are answered on here. We have a couple more minutes. So who customizes the applications? So you yourself, you're able to set your own series of questions. You can create like long text responses so they can write in detail why they want to get involved, if they need to upload documents, if they need to check multiple documents. Okay. So then, oh, Terry accidentally sent my questions to me and then copied and sent. Oh, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry. So Terry mentioned only need the scheduling for volunteers. Many volunteers do not want that in a web program, but it's super time consuming to do so. Can I put in all the volunteer times they told me they can do and then send it out to volunteers who are fine? So on that part, so you can add volunteers on the back end. You can schedule them if they need to. You can email them their schedules on there. And okay, and then she said a number of volunteers are ambassadors within the city of Scottsdale, and they use that program. Will it be a different volunteer impact account for them to be in the National Historical Museum? Don't want to confuse them. So yeah, this is really cool to know, is that so a volunteer can use their same My Impact page login to continue on to and they can use that same account for the historical museum, even though they're at the city of Scottsdale. And you're not going to on your end, Terry, you're not going to know that if they're with the city of Scottsdale, since you're not going to be able to see that information. Only the volunteer does on their end, from which within their same account they're able to toggle like which organization they want to sign up for and what they want to log hours for. Thank you for giving me the nudge that he had that message in there. Suffer allow you to create. Oh, okay. Thank you for following up, Jose. So the software allowed to create task tracking, objectives achieved. So fulfilling stage 1, stage 2. So the way this is done is, and how you want to utilize it is by using our qualifications, like what steps they need to complete. So like if a step they need to complete is an interview, that can be set as a qualification. So then you can mark it as completed once it's been completed. That's how that would be done. And then appreciate the love, everyone. And I know we're right at the top of the hour. I tried my best to answer as many questions as possible. I love the engagement today. I didn't put anybody to sleep. And if any, I know more questions will come up. So should they, you'll know where to find me, and just watch out for the upcoming emails. Thanks again, everyone.